Once upon a time, there was a boy named Yegenek who was fascinated by technology and adventure. Yegenek loved computer games, always playing the hero who saved others in his favorite game. One day, he learned that his father, Kazalk Koka, had once been a great hero. Listening to this story from his grandfather in amazement, Yegenek asked, "My father was a hero. Then why isn't he strong like before?" His grandfather's eyes filled with sorrow. "Ah, my child," he said, "your father was very brave in his youth, but one day he was wrongfully captured by evil men and imprisoned in a distant castle. Many tried to rescue him, but the castle walls were too high, its gates too strong. No one succeeded. Since that day, your father has lived under the weight of those memories." Yegenek was deeply moved. He tried to imagine his father in his heroic days. A voice inside him whispered, "If you could save him, everything would be different." But this wasn't a game. Traveling to that castle and rescuing his father wouldn't be easy. Turning to his grandfather with determination, he asked her grandfather, "Is that castle still there? Why couldn't anyone save him?" Dede Korkut stroked his long white beard and smiled kindly. "Grandson, the castle still stands, but it's been fortified even more since then. Reaching it requires courage, wisdom, and patience. Let's see if you can become a brave hero like your father." Yegenek's eyes sparkled. For the first time, he felt like a true hero. "I'll help my father," he thought. Though he didn't yet know how, he sat quietly to devise a plan. "My father is imprisoned in a castle, but I will save him one day. I need to plan like in my games." Thus, Yegenek decided to embark on a courageous journey, one that would require not just bravery, but also his mind and heart. For true heroes draw strength not just from their arms, but from their wisdom and compassion. With these thoughts, Yegenek began preparing for his adventure. The ancient stories of Dede Korkut and his father's heroic deeds would be his guide. A new chapter had begun. He would rescue his father and restore his family's honor. Yegenek started formulating his rescue plan in his mind. But this wasn't as simple as in games. This was a real adventure requiring careful thought at every step. First, he decided to research the castle's location based on his grandfather's descriptions. One day, he sat at his computer and began searching maps for the area his grandfather had mentioned. He learned the castle stood between high mountains, surrounded by a deep river, with gates made of iron. When Yegenek saw this landscape, he thought, "This looks like the final level in a video game." But Yegenek didn't lose heart. "Every problem holds a solution," he told himself as he set to work. First, he enlisted help from an old friend, his closest companion, Tiny Drone. Tiny Drone was a small but highly capable flying robot Yegenek had built himself. He equipped the drone with a camera and several special devices. His plan was castle surveillance. Tiny Drone would fly around the castle, observing conditions inside and sending live footage to Yegenek. Avoiding guards, Yegenek would identify the patrolling guards and map their routes, finding secret passages. If there were hidden passages in the castle, Tiny Drone would help discover them. When he explained this plan to his grandfather, Dede Korkut's face broke into a smile. "You're truly clever, grandson. But remember, you only become a real hero when you use your wisdom for good." Keeping these words in mind, Yegenek continued his preparations. Yet he knew he couldn't do this alone. So he sent a message to his father's old friends. "My father has been wrongfully imprisoned in the castle for years. Will you help me rescue him?" The recipients were Kazalk Koka's old companions, people who had once trusted his father deeply and admired his courage. Now it was their turn. "Of course we'll help," they said. Some studied maps to show routes, others prepared strong ropes and tools. Yegenek had now completed his plan. Together with Tiny Drone and his allies, he would launch an operation on the castle. But this adventure wouldn't be easy. Yegenek knew this and kept telling himself, "Our hero never gives up.
I'll do anything for my father."
When the day of the operation arrived and everyone was ready, Yegenek checked his map one last time. He had memorized every detail of the castle, the routes, the passages. Now it was time to execute the plan. The adventure was about to begin, and Yegenek's heart pounded with both excitement and hope. Would his clever plan succeed? The big day had come. At first light, Yegenek and his team set out. Tiny Drone led the way as they navigated steep cliffs and crossed rivers. The castle loomed majestically before them. Its stone walls and iron gates seemed impregnable. Using the drone, Yegenek identified an almost invisible small tunnel on the western side. He had previously studied the map and marked this as a potential secret passage. However, the entrance was blocked with stones. One of his companions quietly removed the stones and opened the passage. The tunnel was narrow and dark, but Yegenek bravely stepped forward, flashlight in hand, with his friends following behind. At the tunnel's end was a door leading to the dungeons. Here came the hardest part. They needed to open the door, which had a modern locking system. Tiny Drone immediately went to work, using a small device to crack the code. Just as everything seemed to be going smoothly, the castle alarm sounded. A guard had spotted Tiny Drone. Chaos erupted in the castle. Yegenek's heart raced, but he didn't panic. Turning to his friends, he said, "No panic! We stick to the plan." As guards rushed toward the dungeons, Yegenek made a smart move. He sent Tiny Drone to the castle's highest point to distract them. When the drone began emitting bright lights, the guards tried to understand what was happening and moved away from Yegenek's position. Meanwhile, the drone successfully unlocked the door. The door opened, and Yegenek entered. There, in the corner of the dungeon, sat his father Korkut, staring hopelessly at the ground.
Father,
"I've come to save you!" Yegenek called out excitedly. Korkut couldn't believe his eyes. The man who had been imprisoned for years now had tears streaming down his face. "My son, is it really you?" he whispered. Yegenek took his father's hand. "Yes." "Father, you're free now." Before the guards could return, Yegenek and his friends quickly led his father out of the dungeon. But their work wasn't done yet. The guards had noticed and were chasing them. Yegenek had anticipated this too. At the castle gate, they detonated smoke bombs they'd prepared earlier, blinding the guards and escaping unseen. As the castle faded behind them, Korkut turned to his son. "You're not just a boy. You're a true hero." Yegenek smiled and replied, "I'd do anything for you." Thus, Yegenek and his team successfully completed their difficult mission. But this was only the beginning of their victory. Now they needed to return home safely, like a true hero. Yegenek and his team had succeeded in rescuing his father from the dungeon. But their adventure wasn't over yet. As they moved deeper into the forest away from the castle, the guards were still searching for them. Keeping his composure, Yegenek turned to his father. "Don't worry, father, you're safe now. Just a little longer, and we'll be completely free." Moving through the forest, Yegenek's mind remained active. He carefully observed their surroundings, choosing the safest paths. His friends supported him too. One erased their tracks, while another monitored the pursuing guards. Tiny Drone flew above, guiding them. The final obstacle. Just when they thought they were safe, a raging river blocked their path. The current was so strong that crossing seemed impossible. Worse still, the sound of approaching guards grew louder. Everyone paused, wondering what to do. Then Yegenek had a brilliant idea. Using the ropes and wooden planks they'd brought, they quickly built a small raft. Working together, they completed it in no time. Korkut thought to himself, "I'm so fortunate to have such a clever and brave son." The escape as the raft floated downriver, Yegenek kept watch. At one point, he spotted the guards on the riverbank. Too late, he taunted them with a laugh. The guards could only watch helplessly, not daring to enter the fast-moving waters. Once safely across, they finally felt completely secure. Korkut looked at his son, "Showing such courage and wisdom to rescue me. You've truly proven yourself a great hero." Yegenek smiled in response of father. "This is just the beginning. You've always been my hero. I simply followed your path." Homecoming. When they finally reached home, everyone welcomed them with great joy. Neighbors and friends all celebrated Yegenek. His heroic tale spread far and wide. Yet amid all this praise, Yegenek remained humble. "I only did what anyone would do to save their father," he said, bowing his head. True heroism means fighting tirelessly for those we love. The meaning of freedom. As Dede Korkut sat in his home after so long, holding a cup of tea, he looked at his son Yegenek. Freedom is the greatest treasure we hold, one we sometimes fail to appreciate until it's gone. Yegenek nodded in agreement. But protecting freedom requires courage, and so began a new era for Yegenek and his family. This adventure marked not just Dede Korkut's liberation, but also Yegenek's awakening to freedom. Though now celebrated as a hero, Yegenek chose to remain modest, for he was simply a brave boy who loved his family, and so they all lived happily ever after.